Hey, good morning, Bets. Good morning, Todd. Or
Good
afternoon.
morning.
How you doing today, man?
Man, I'm fantastic. My daughter graduated high school last night, so feeling all the feels, man, and I'm pumped for this class. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good, man. Yeah, good news about your daughter. Now the next step, huh?
Absolutely, yeah. How much is that going to cost? It doesn't matter because it's going to happen. But happy to
Right.
be here. Eddie. Happy to
Yeah,
be
man.
here, man. Welcome,
Everybody,
everybody.
happy Wednesday. Happy Wednesday, everybody. Bets, thanks for spending your time with us today. And before we get started, go ahead and sound off with where you're coming from and what you served, Army, Navy, Marine, Coast Guard, Air Force, what years, so we can see where you guys are coming from. And then,
Absolutely. I'll go first. I'll go
yeah,
first,
go
Eddie.
for it, man. Go for
All
it.
right. My name is Todd Steinbrecher. I'm a veteran coach here. I was in the Navy 99 to '08, last duty station San Diego, and I live in Kansas City now. I was a client here before I was a coach. I was at 80%, and VA Claims Insider got me in 100% permanent and total, and just passionate to keep serving and helping our vets. Yeah.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, good to have you here, man. I know you've been here for a little bit now, and you're rolling and you're taking care of your vets, man. It's awesome to see that.
Yeah.
And
It's an honor.
yeah, and as for me, I was in the army, active for 2000 to around 2004 ish. Got deployed, enlisted, and then came back and joined the National Guard here in Texas, and became a warrant officer and got to fly some cool helicopters. And now I got some cool stories to tell, I guess.
It's
But
awesome.
yeah, yeah, the same thing, right? I came to VACI underrated years ago as a client, and thankfully, with the help of the company, the team, and the resources, I was able to get where I deserve, and still fighting, but almost there, almost there. Um,
That's awesome, man. Well, thanks for your service, and I know you feel the same way, Eddie. Welcome everyone, and
yeah,
thank you
welcome
for your
everyone.
service. We know you could be anywhere right now, and you're here, so thank you.
Yeah, and I want to give a special shout out today because of the topic for Agent Orange too. All of our Vietnam vets. Thank you guys and girls for your service. Really, really, really do appreciate you guys. And this topic is for you. And also, if you didn't serve in Vietnam during that time frame, it's still for you because, as we'll talk about in a little bit, you didn't have to just serve in Vietnam to qualify for this. Okay, so
That's right. Yep.
and then yeah, and I wanted to kind of just call out some vets here. And David, brother, it's one of my vets from California. Welcome. Uh, Appreciate your time always, and I always see you on here. Glad to have you on, man. Let's see.
Absolutely.
I see a
Yeah,
couple
and
of
then
too.
yeah, welcome Don. Welcome brother Vince. Welcome Marion or Doug here. Don, Carl, Richard, Antonio. Got a
Nice.
guy JT from the Marines. Helen, M. Steele, Mike, David, yep, Pamela, Leon. Man, it just goes on and on. Welcome, everybody.
Yeah, everybody, man. Welcome. So awesome to have you all here, and hopefully this topic we'll give you guys some good information. And we're also going to give you some information on how to get a hold of somebody on our team so that if you have any questions or you're interested in the program, you can talk to somebody about it in a discovery call. Okay. And before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and knock out the disclaimer, Todd, so that we can get that out of the way. And then we'll kind of start with the topic. Okay. All right. So we are not accredited agents, VSOs, attorneys, or any other entity recognized by the Department of Veteran Affairs, the VA, and we are not affiliated with the VA in any way. VA Claims Insider is an education based coaching consulting company for disabled veterans exploring eligibility for increased VA disability benefits and who wish to learn more about that process. VA Claims Insider also connects veterans with vetted independent medical professionals in our preferred provider network for medical examinations and independent medical opinions, IMO. for a wide range of disability conditions. So, as we get that out of the way, you know, everybody, please, if you have any questions, make sure you put them on the chat. We may not get to all the questions, but if you do have a question and we don't get to it, somebody will get with you after this presentation. Okay. Um, and with that, I'll kind of lead into how the program works, Todd, and then we can
Sounds
kind of
great.
take
Yeah.
forward from that. Okay.
Yeah.
So the big thing for this program, we call it the SEAM method, right? The strategy. That's where you get with your coach. You get a strategy together. Um, just to give an example, right? I meet with the veteran for the first time, talk to them about the past, look at some of the documentation that they have, i.e., 214s and blue button reports, stuff like that. And then we say, okay, this is what our strategy should look like from what you have. And then from there, we educate. We give that education on how to go about that strategy. And then if any medical evidence is needed, that's where the preferred provider network of Telemedica comes in, or any other medical provider that the veteran may have to assist. Okay. Um, and then we do have live classes. These are very important. I mean, you could talk about it, Todd. You've been on a couple classes
Yeah,
so far.
no, I mean, I love them because it's just like this, Eddie, and we get on Zoom. We have different classes 3 times a day. One of my favorites is Coffee with the Coaches, and that is almost every day, Monday through Friday. There are some, obviously, holidays and things like that. But Coffee with the Coaches is a great place for everyone to come together in the mornings for an hour. We talk a lot about, different claims and different strategies. I learn something new every time, but also the camaraderie is awesome in Coffee with the Coaches. I really enjoy that. So if you haven't done Coffee with the Coaches, you can get it in your portal or vaci1.com. That's vacione.com. And then there's other classes like a mental health exam prep. Those are really great. You can take these as many times as you want. The medical exam prep class too, depending on what your claim is. Those are really helpful, especially when you're getting with your coach and you're prepping for an appointment or your CMP exam.
Yeah. And I wanted to also point out that these classes are available to members. So if you're not a member and you want to get some more information, definitely there's a discovery call that you can learn more about what we do. You can schedule a free discovery call and talk to one of our team members. And then, yeah, with the link that our team has provided right there. Yeah, we'd love to be a partner with you and the VA claim process, right? And get you going on the right direction and start working that SEAM method, that strategy, education, and medical evidence to get that solid um, uh, claim together. So, um, having said all that, let's jump into the topic today, Agent Orange. Okay. So I'll start with some of the notes that we have from some of the resources that we have online. Um, and we'll give you some more information on those resources as far as the blog. Those are real helpful. So Agent Orange, what is it? So it was a herbicide that was used during the Vietnam War, and it was primarily between 1962 and 1971. Um, and we have some notes on here that the Air Force sprayed more than 19 million gallons of herbicide. Sorry, that's a hard
That's
word.
right.
in Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia as part of a military project called Operation Ranch Hand. And at least 11 million gallons of total Agent Orange were Agent Orange, right? So,
Yeah.
where does their name come from? Can you tell us a little bit about that, Todd?
Yeah, of course. I was just going to ask you that too. I was like, does anyone know where it came from, the name Agent Orange? And it comes from that orange stripe on the herbicide barrels. And it was a mixture of two chemicals, the 2,4-D and the 2,4,5-T. And that produced a toxic byproduct called dioxin. And dioxin's the primary culprit behind the harmful effects of Agent Orange exposure. So after the war, it became apparent that Agent Orange exposure had long-term effects on the health of many veterans, right? So luckily, through the recent 2022 release of the PACT Act, the VA now officially recognizes different conditions associated with that Agent Orange exposure. And that's part of what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
And we want to make sure, how crucial it is to be aware of these connections so that you can take care of your health and get the support you deserve. And that's what your coaches are going to help you with as well. Okay. So, hey, Eddie, there was a couple different ways that veterans were exposed to Agent Orange. Do you want to maybe talk about a couple of those?
Yeah, so a lot of people think that Agent Orange is only for people that had boots on ground in Vietnam, and that's not correct. It's not just limited to Vietnam. So there was Agent Orange, let's see here, on land in Vietnam, of course, but also ships traveling on Vietnam inland waters. So a lot of Navy vets that were on ships or boats within the waterways. And then 12 nautical miles off coast of Vietnam and Cambodia is kind of the parameter of where they say the qualification is, right? Between January 9th of 62 and May 7th of 75. And this is what they refer to as a blue water Navy exposure. And
Right.
all this information that we're talking about is readily available in our blog. This is where we're getting our information from, right? This is where our team of very smart and expert, researchers put all this together, and that's how we understand the information as we go. So, if you guys are interested in looking at that, they just put up the link there. So, please go to it and find some more out.
And Eddie, again, if you don't mind, I'm sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to say, as far as that goes, when we go over this too, if you feel like you don't fall into these parameters, still get with your coach, because there are all sorts of avenues to take. So when we're talking about this, we might not be covering every single symptom or thing that could be service connected. That's why we're giving you these links. But don't think just because you're not in this that you didn't have exposure. And that's why it's important to get with your coach and strategize, see what type of evidence is out there, right? We were talking about that the other day, especially with the blue water Navy. So I just wanted to make that sure so everyone understands, just because we didn't cover it doesn't mean you can't get a service connection, right? We're talking about the presumptive conditions within those parameters of 62 to 70.
Yeah. And I saw William Dudley posted a question. What about veterans that served stateside, where the Agent Orange, blue and white, and other, what about those, right? So I'm going to go into that a little bit here. Just like it's not limited to Vietnam, boots on ground. It also situations such as crew members of C-123 planes that were used during and after the Vietnam War. These planes may have hermicide residual on them. So as you're working on those things, or if you were a crew member that was either doing mechanical stuff or loading and doing stuff like that, it might still apply to you, right? Serving near the demilitarized zone at Korea between September 1st of 1967 and August 31st, 1971. And then one more, being stationed on any U.S. or Royal Thai military base in the Thailand between January 9th, 1962 and June 30th of 1976. So you might have been exposed to these, anywhere in between all that, during tests and storage at military bases in the United States and other countries, including locations that are added by the PACT Act. So that PACT Act was huge, because that's where a majority of this information is, and where we extrapolate the information from, right? That was the new rate or law that passed that opened up all this new locations and the actual disabilities, right? Because there's actually 44 now that are recognized from Agent Orange.
Right. Yeah. And one of the cool things there too, with that, and I don't mean to say cool, but what I mean is promising, is that list continues to grow, right, Eddie? Because there are long-term effects of Agent Orange, right? So just to break it down, if anybody is wondering about dioxin, I'm going to get into that just a little bit, Eddie,
Yeah.
because many of the effects of Agent Orange can take a long time to show up, right? It can even take decades after exposure. So what is dioxin? It's what they call a lipophilic, and that just means lipofat philic loving. So it's a fat loving chemical, which means it dissolves in fats and oils. Okay. So as a result, dioxin enters your body and it tends to accumulate in fatty tissues instead of being excreted, right? So it makes it really difficult for your body to get rid of dioxin. And what that does is it can lead to those long-term accumulation and increased exposure to its harmful effects, right? So, Eddie, why don't we break down some of those long-term health issues? Like examples like, cancer, right? Neurological disorders, respiratory problems, skin conditions, cardiovascular issues, gastrointestinal disorders. There's physiological effects and reproductive health issues as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And before we jump into those, I did want to let's see here. We had a question from. Sorry, I'm looking for it. Uh,
Terrell, about,
Doug.
yep.
Oh, I'm sorry. Doug first. Doug
Oh,
Dawes, I saw. Yeah, he says he's at 80% in developed diabetic neuropathy. Since type 2 diabetes is considered presumptive, with diabetic neuropathy be considered part of the presumptive. There's a little bit of specifics in there, but what I could tell you, Doug, is you have promise in you know getting stuff like that connected. There's different ways, and uh, I would suggest doing a discovery call and getting with the coach so that you can strategize and see exactly the specifics of what your case can turn up to be. Okay. Um, yeah, and I just wanted to point that out before we move forward to some of the presumptives. And like I said before, if you're experiencing, and like I said, there's 44 of them, 44 conditions that were exposed to Agent Orange during military service. Uh, so what that means is the VA automatically assumes your exposure caused the conditions, making it easier for the VA disability rating. And there's a long list of them, right? The big ones that we run into a lot: type 2 diabetes, is one of them. Hodgkin's, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, um, heart disease, Parkinson's, prostate cancer, respiratory cancers, and the list, like you said, Todd, is ever growing, right? As we keep going
Right.
on. So definitely, if you have any of these going on and you were in an environment during the time frame that we talked about or close to it, get that discovery call going so that we can see if some of these officially apply to you, right? So
Yeah, and just to cap that too, Eddie, our other question, Terrell asked, great question. What about Guam and Agent Orange? Great question. And again, there are other places. I have a client right now who worked on aircraft and was Blue Water Navy. And a lot of the aircraft that he was working on were in those locations and he had toxic exposure, right? So there's a lot of different ways to look at it. But great question, Terrell, about Guam and Agent Orange. If you go onto our website on vaclaimsinsider.com, there is a whole list of these on Agent Orange, but specifically for Guam and Samoa, despite previous denials about it, Agent Orange was used in Guam, and there's evidence that certain Agent Orange components were there. Although they don't know the full extent of it, if you were stationed in Guam or American Samoa during the war, you were probably likely exposed to Agent Orange. And they do have dates on that as well, because I know there was some type of cleanup and whatnot. I was stationed on Guam myself, so I think we got a little bit of debrief on that when I got there. But please look into that, because if you were there, that could definitely be an exposure. Okay. So great question, Terrell.
and you brought something really good up, Todd. If you were previously denied, please get on that discovery call and get with somebody, because uh, that new PAC Act opened up a lot of new things, right? So Uh, I've had a lot of veterans that were previously denied that now are, uh, successful, right, because of the new PAC Act law. So definitely get with us on that, so that we can take a look at the denial and where to move forward with that as a strategy. Okay. Um, yeah. So I think next, let's see here. We covered Blue Water Navy. We covered crew members serving in a demilitarized zone in Korea, and then U.S. and Royal Thai military bases. And like I said, all the time frames and locations are all listed in the blog that we have at VA Claims Insider. So you can take a look at that for specifics, and look up the specifics on the PAC Act as well. Okay, because that's going to cover the new conditions as well. Um,
Mhm.
let's see here. You see any questions that we can hop on?
Yep. So just some, like Wayne has a great one. Wayne Kern, you had to be in or near the DMZ supposedly to be exposed. What is in or near? They don't specify. And his base camp was 6 miles from the Z, and that's pretty darn close. You
Right.
want to take that one, Eddie?
Yeah. So when they don't have specifics, that's when things like looking into your records on specifically where you were at during your service can be discussed with your coach. Maybe other evidence too. Sometimes you have to think outside the box, right? You have to maybe I've had, for instance, veterans that I'm like, okay, do you have pictures? Do you have mementos or anything that can put you in that situation, right? And lo and behold, they do, and that can be used as evidence. So things like that we can talk about during a strategy is something that uh, like the question that Wayne had, we can better pinpoint what's needed for him to prove his service there, right? Um,
Right.
and then let's see here, had another one. Oh, okay, so let's see, Marilyn Bergstrom, your husband, Blue Water vet, Vietnam, served in USS Lofberg, died of pulmonary fibrosis, awaiting supplemental claim. Sorry to hear that. You know, thank you for his service, and we appreciate it. And yes, so you also brought up a good point, right? Just because the veteran is deceased doesn't mean that that claim can still not move forward. And that's for everybody to know, right? That is a an option and a thing to do. So even if the veteran or a family member is deceased, it's something that can definitely be put together as a claim. Um, Again, discovery call, right, where we can sit down and look at the specifics of the case with the veteran or the family member, and see what the options are, right? But that was a good question,
Yep. Absolutely.
and good luck on that. And if you need any help during or after that claim, please get a hold of us and do that discovery call to see what options you have with us as far as helping you out.
Excellent.
Yep.
Hey, Eddie, we got another one. Joe Derek is asking. He's on his second request and first appeal over the last 13 years. Is there a way to speed up the process of appeal? And he knows that he should have filed on numerous other health issues. Great question.
Yeah, good question. Unfortunately, there's no real way to speed up the process. There's a lot of factors that go into a VA claim when you submit, and a lot of hands that it touches in between in the VA. What you could do is have a solid SEAM method, have that strategy with your coach, have that education so that you know what you're submitting is going to be a powerful claim and a successful one, and then having that medical evidence that that's needed for it, right? Because if you don't have a current diagnosis, you know, that's number one, right? And that's something that we can help out with as far as resources to look up for that as well. Okay.
You bring up a great point there too, Eddie, is, being treated for things, right? And the difference between being treated and getting that diagnosis. First of all, we want to make sure everyone's being taken care of and you're getting the health care that you need. On top of that, that part of that strategy is that medical evidence, like Eddie, you just talked about, right? So every claim, if there are symptoms that you have, whether they're diagnosed or not, go ahead and make those appointments. When you're looking at the presumptive list, let the doctors be the doctors too, but at the same time, you know, get yourself to the doctor and document this stuff, because medical evidence is going to heavily be part of that claim, right?
Yep.
So it's been a long time. Maybe some of these conditions aren't showing up for decades later. And if they are, please go to your doctor and be seen and discuss those symptoms. Get with your coach. And I back what Eddie said too. If anyone needs help with that, please contact us so you can have a good strategy there. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and you bring up another good point about the diagnosis and getting yourself to the doctor, right? A lot of people think that it's been too long, you know, they're just going to deny me. I'll just deal with it. No, go ahead and look at this stuff. If you were in that area of operation, look at it. And yes, you're not a doctor. I'm not a doctor. So be it. But you know your symptoms, and if you look up
Right.
those symptoms and they align to some of these, disability, presumptive list type of things, then make sure you bring that up to your doctor and let them know that you served in these areas, so that they can annotate that for you, right? Because again, medical evidence, right? So um, I just wanted to bring that one home, right? Because that's a big one that a lot of people think, well, it's too late, and I don't have anything going on anyways that's on the list. Well, know your body, know your symptoms, and go to the doctor. Okay.
100%, 100%. And someone, as a vet for myself, Eddie, and we fall under the pact act too. It's not Agent Orange, but we were in Southwest Asia, so we have our own burn pit and presumptive conditions and things like that as well.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I am my rating, I still go to the doctor and I document everything, because it is still important, because my health care, right? And I want to make
Mm-hmm.
sure I'm being treated. So it's also just important because I don't know what's going to happen decades later either, right, Eddie? I mean, we don't know either. So please go to the doctor. Please go to the doctor.
Yep. Yep.
Another good question. How about Lex Woodall? Um, it says, Harry in Virginia Beach, Virginia. How about serving on diesel submarine within the 12 miles of the land in Vietnam? Great question.
Good question. Um,
Yep.
can I jump in on that one real quick?
Yeah, please do. Please
Yeah,
do.
yeah. So, 12 nautical miles, right? If it's that criteria. Also, there is a list of specific ships, submarines, boats, whatever the case is, that are on that list that will specify if you are for sure, um, you know, the presumptive, right? It
Right.
doesn't mean if your ship isn't on there, it doesn't mean that you're out of luck. It just means that maybe there's going to be some more, digging of medical evidence needed, or thinking outside the box, or like you said, right? They're always changing and adding things, right? So if
Right.
for some reason you were stationed on a boat that was 20 nautical miles away, it might not be relevant right now, but maybe in the future as they expand
That's right.
these
Yeah, yeah.
presumptive.
So you might even be getting treated for something that's going to end up on that list, right, Eddie?
Yep.
And that kind of segues into relevancy of Navy ship movements. Bill Lawrence. This kind of goes with what we're talking about now. Navy ship movement does not show ports of call. Then what, right? So Eddie, you and I both know why it's important for us to see those copies of DD 214s and different things like that, because there might be some markers there as
Mhm.
well, It could be an award or a medal or something else that is in the DD 214 that we can see. A Vietnam campaign medal, things of this nature. Like you had said before, pictures, where you were, any type of articles that might have come out in the paper that maybe you can Google, things of this. It's outside of the box thinking, but the VA is saying, well, do you have anything else if you don't have this black and white, slam dunk type of evidence? It doesn't mean you don't go for it. It means we just might have to dig a little deeper and see what other resources and markers there are out there for you,
Mhm.
right? We've seen success in that, haven't we?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll give you a quick example. It wasn't Vietnam, but it's still relevant. It was an Iraq vet. Um, Everything was kind of not successful, and then we looked at his ERB, and there it was. There was a campaign medal, there was a cab, all kinds of stuff proving his service there. So there's always, if you know that what you're telling them is true, and you know that you were there, there's a way to look for it. Okay, so
That's
don't
right.
give up.
Yep. Nope, don't ever give up. It's really interesting, some of the evidence that people happen to have tucked away in their basement or wherever in their attic.
Mhm.
They find those pictures and different things, and they're like, oh my gosh. And we say, yeah, please submit that as part of your claim.
Mhm.
Um, that's going to get results, more so than not submitting that with your claim.
Yeah.
I like that example. We got another one, Eddie,
Yeah.
about Leo Rodriguez. He is a 100% disabled veteran, and he was exposed to Agent Orange for his time in Thailand. And he's asking about his 2 adult children
Mhm.
who have some healthcare issues. Are they covered as a result of his exposure?
Very good question. Very good question. And we do have a specific blog. I would say, Leo, get on our blog at vaclaimsinsider.com and look up that specific topic. It goes a little bit into detail. We don't deal with that so much, but it's a good question, for not just the claim, but after the claim. And there are resources for children of vets with disabilities in that circumstance. Okay, so definitely get on the blog, or even do a discovery call, and have somebody kind of point out what to look for. Okay, so yeah, good question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Great question. Um, Hey, Eddie, is there a time limit? Jerry Sullivan's asking where the VA can lower your rating.
So time limit. Usually the way that the VA does exams is, if you have a scheduled exam for a disability, it's usually within 5 years for reexamination. However, if they believe that your condition is not going to get better, or it's going to get worse, most of the time they do what's called static, and they leave it where it's at, unless you go in and tell them it's getting better progressively and things like that, right? But in short, the I guess you can think of the time limit as like a 5 year time limit for reexamination. Yes, they do have the ability to lower ratings. It doesn't happen very often. Most of the time it's because of either getting better, getting treatment. But if it's something that's degenerative, or that's going to get worse with age,
Right.
most people don't have to worry about it. Yeah,
But it is possible. It is
it is.
possible.
Yes.
Yep.
Hmm.
Yeah, it is possible. So we've seen these, Eddie, and I know we talked about this with one of my clients actually not too long ago. Wayne Kern, he was TDY. So, he said, I was not in a presumptive unit, but have a photo of me in a foxhole with a fence 50 yards behind me and still denied. So that's one
Yeah.
of those things where, you know, we would need to know more information. I think that
Yeah.
evidence is helpful, but that would be something that I would definitely get with the coach with your coach. And if you don't have one, again, go ahead and make a discovery call. There's no obligation with any of that anyway, right, Eddie?
Mhm.
We're not here. We want to give you the information and make you feel comfortable. But that seems like one we would maybe want to dig into a little bit.
Right. Yeah, there's some specifics in there that me as a coach I would want to know a little bit more exacts about. But it seems like yeah, maybe some more digging on specifics of the location of the the photo, anybody that was maybe in the photo, any statements, lots of stuff that you can talk about during a strategy session with the coach. So yeah, definitely get on that discovery call because it's like Todd said, there's no obligation. It's just informational. Okay. Um,
Absolutely.
let's
Larry
see
also
here.
had a great question,
Hmm.
Eddie. Larry Martin had part of his left lung removed for small cell cancer, and he's on oxygen full time. And he went to the VA this morning for a parking permit, and looks like he, unfortunately, I'm sorry to hear that, Larry. You passed out. How should I file this? First of all, we're sorry about that.
Yeah.
We don't like seeing
And
anybody that well.
yeah, and hopefully somebody came to you and gave you some assistance, and it was annotated in your records of what happened. If not, make sure definitely get with your medical provider and give them specifics on that, because that's a large event that happened to you because of lung being removed. And if you did serve during the time and locations of the Agent Orange exposure, that would definitely be something to get with the coach about, to strategize what's needed to have that successful claim, because that's definitely something that you should uh, be compensated for if you qualify for it.
And I like the fact too, and a lot of people sometimes don't think about it, Eddie. Way to bring that up. Make sure you annotate that in your records, right? And any symptoms. Um, sometimes the squeaky wheel gets greased too, and if it doesn't come out of our mouths when we're in that exam room, whenever we're going to the doctor, it's not going to be documented, right? So document, document, document. Unfortunately, that happened to you, sir, but please make sure you document that and get with your coach so you guys can talk about um, how to move forward if there's some options there.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. A lot of
Right.
us we're trained not to say anything and just keep moving on. Me, myself included.
It
Being
does
on.
feel very counterintuitive, by the way. We were kind of trained when we were in the military. Rub some dirt on it. You're not going medical. Get back in
Uh-huh.
the game, right?
Yeah.
This is completely opposite, right? I mean, this is the time where a lot of people they didn't go to medical, right? Or they didn't, but these are things that are happening now. Um, and it doesn't matter. There is no time limit for them to submit a claim, right, Eddie? I mean, getting that medical evidence, sometimes it takes decades for some of these conditions to show up, like we had talked about at the beginning. So document it. It could even be something that turns into something that's going to be on the presumptive list eventually, or is already there, and you're finding your way to those types of things. Does it
Hmm.
take like slow and right and a little bit longer to do some of these things? It does sometimes, but
Right.
medical evidence is going to be the best thing, right? And
Right.
again, please, the coach, if you need to strategize about that, have a discovery
Yeah.
call or strategy call.
Yeah. And like you said, right? It's never too late, because I was using myself as an example. In aviation, you don't say anything, because if you
Right.
do, they're gonna down you, right? And there
Yeah.
goes your time, there goes all that, right? So you kind of self medicate and make yourself feel better in your own way during service, and you don't say anything. And then come years later, it's like, well, I have all this stuff going wrong, but I
Right.
never did anything.
Yeah.
It's
I
okay.
know what you mean, man. I was aviation too. So,
Mhm.
I was helicopter guy as well. And, you want to stay in the fight, right? And you want to keep your
Mhm.
flight status up and all that. So, I mean, it is what it is. But again, never
It's
too
never
late.
too late. Yep, never too late, and we're proof of that.
We are
Yeah.
actually.
Yep.
Armando asked a great question too. Back in 2021, when bladder cancer was added to the list of Agent Orange, he did a new claim and they accepted but gave him a 0 rating. Never did anything else until now that I did an intent to file. If I get a new rating, will I get back pay from the 2021 claim?
There's a couple of questions in there, and I'll address them because Armando, I believe, is one of my veterans. So how you doing, Armando? Um, and yes, because you have a 0% rating, the VA has already acknowledged that you're service connected for it. And then second, if you would get that increased, that would be an increase. So that would mean that no, there would not be back pay from 2021. It would be at the date of your intent to file to increase. Um, but I wanted to also add um, the 0% rating for bladder cancer, even though it's a zero, it's things that you can build off of. You know,
That's right.
residuals from the
Right.
bladder cancer. So a lot of people don't realize that that 0% is still big. It still qualifies you for other things to build off of. So, um, in
That's
short,
really important, Eddie, that you brought that up because a lot of times, the thought of 0% service connected, it's actually great news
mhm,
because of what you just said. There are residuals or secondary conditions that are going on that can be service connected. We see that every day. So
mhm,
even that 0%, even though that might not be a compensation or pension part, it means that you're going to get treated for any of that and things secondary to that that may come up because of that service connection. You can potentially file some possible secondary claims, right?
mhm,
Uh, and we see that every day. So again, very important. Now there are certain things that are 0% too, and we won't dig into that too much, Eddie. But sometimes that 0% is just a great thing because there are other things you can connect to it, and it's a
mhm,
great thing because you can get treated for what that service connection is, right?
yeah,
Um, as far as increases go, sometimes 0 or 10%, as an example, are like as high as you can go. Just like tinnitus or tinnitus, people call that. You usually see like a 0 or 10% rating on that.
yeah,
Tens as high as you can go. So again, always good to get with your coach and do some research to see if there's any potential for an increase on an
mhm,
already 0% service connection as well.
yep, yep, for sure. So Armando, uh, get with your coach if that's me, and we'll talk about it specifically. But yeah, um, great points on the secondaries and the residuals. And then I think let's see, Steve Wright had a question. What if you were TDY to Thailand for 2 weeks and only paperwork I have is a medical entry? I went to sick call. Would this meet the criteria for the PAC Act? It depends. So you got some evidence there. I would say the best thing you could do is get that discovery call going. Look at our blogs to see exactly where in Thailand you were and the time frame,
Right.
and kind of go from there as far as building evidence with the coach to
Yeah,
get you
that's
strategy.
yeah, Eddie, sorry to interrupt there. That's that evidence though is important, and like Eddie said, those dates and times are all going to be specific, and there is no cookie cutter here, right, Eddie? There's no cookie
No.
cutter, one size fits all for every veteran. All of our situations are unique, and
They
that is
are.
also it's important. So even if your buddy didn't get service connected for something, doesn't mean you're not going to, right? And vice versa. So
Mhm.
taking that into account, that's why we always want to have that discovery or strategy call with you so we can break down that evidence and see what you have and what you need.
Mhm. Yep. Because and I'm gonna jump ahead a couple questions here because John Morini served in Vietnam 18 months in 69 to 70. Have no idea if any medical records that exist from my tour. I've never filed a VA claim, any claim. How should I move forward? Get that discovery call because just because you don't have anything on hand doesn't mean the VA doesn't have your records. One and two, sometimes having a successful claim with the coach, all you need is current stuff. So, uh, John, in short, please get a hold of somebody with that free discovery call because I believe you have a successful route and you do deserve to put in some claims. Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question, and that kind of brings us into the other one, Eddie. Um, so again, back to Guam and dates and different places. Marion Doug Freiberger has a great question. Guam pay records and orders, is that enough to prove I was there? It should be, but at the same time, again, getting back, looking at those dates when you were there. I was stationed on Guam, but that was 2000 to '02. That so I didn't fall under that presumptive condition because it was way after they did the cleanup. And I don't want to quote the dates because I don't have them fresh on my mind. But like you said, in those resources, it'll show you those parameters for Guam
Mhm.
and things like that. But even then, it's still important to get with your coach just to pick apart everything and make sure there's nothing undiscovered, right?
Yeah,
Uh,
because along with that strategy you get with the coach, you're going to get the resources and education that we offer. That's the biggest part. The claim process is on you as the vet. We don't handle anything as far as submitting or anything like that for you. We're here to coach you. We're here to provide you resources like we're doing right now. Point you in the right direction and get you educated. And then if you're missing that medical evidence, where you can get that, right? And then that kind of jumps into that next question from Joe Derrick. If most of the diagnosis was outside the VA medical system, do I have to get a VA new diagnosis? No. However, just a caveat on that, uh, make sure that whatever you have is current, a current diagnosis. That's going to be required, right? And current is within 2 years. Um, that's the only time I would ever say, maybe get a second opinion or an updated diagnosis. But uh, medical diagnosis is good. Private VA, it doesn't matter.
it doesn't matter. And to piggyback on you, Eddie, that too, within that 2 years, I mean, if you're going back and getting treated and you're having your appointment, or even when you do your annual physical, if you're doing that, things like that, bringing up these things that are still there that you've had diagnosed that you're still living with, that's one way to annotate that you're still being treated for those things. So if it's been a while since you've been in the doctor and things like that, again, go ahead and get yourself to the doctor and have this discussion, right? Because medical evidence wins
Mm-hmm.
claims,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And then I had one that Eddie, that you had brought up, and now I forgot it, but it had something to do with being in country. So I think this is Walt will be able to answer that. Walt's talking about how he was stationed at Camp Eagle in 71, 72. Unfortunately, had some fallout and clumps of his hair after a couple weeks in country, found better water source, hair stopped falling out, no issues except gallbladder appendix. Not sure if any links between should I follow my age of 72. The answer is 100% yes, right?
Yep.
100%.
Yeah. So we don't know. We're not doctors, right? That's why we want you to get on the discovery call and we could talk about the specifics. And if again, if you know what the symptoms are and they fall into something that may be presumptive, go to the doctor and get that diagnosed and treated. Um, and then build that strategy with your coach. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
that's
I
great.
just wanted
No,
to
I agree.
drop
Yep,
that from home.
100%.
Yeah, yeah. So
That's
yeah,
right.
Walt, age does not matter. Get yourself in there and get what you deserve. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't sit well with the kind of information that kind of gets spread around sometimes, that may or may not be accurate when we're talking to people and their experiences, right, Eddie? So,
Mm-hmm.
that's why the coach is important, because you and I have both seen people go through successfully, and somebody else didn't. So what you had mentioned, I just want to say real quick, as Eddie was saying, yes, you are going to be the ones that are submitting your claim, but keep in mind we have all the resources to coach you through that, right? And your agreement, and they are at your fingertips. You're going to have prep calls and things like that to make sure you know how to do things, and we show you how to access these things and whatnot, right? So you won't be like alone and you have no idea what's going on, right? That's why we want you to please take advantage of those resources with your elite membership, which is free. We don't charge anything unless your claim goes through and you get a win, which is an awesome thing as well.
Yeah, and I like to consider ourselves just like sports coaches. They're not going to play for you. They're not going to,
Right.
do the work for you. They're going to tell you how to get it done and what's needed, and coach you through it. But the work is going to be on you as the veteran to get all this stuff, through. And with that comes success. So
Right.
yeah, I just
We're
wanted
on
to
the
add,
sidelines, but you're running the ball down the field, right, for the touchdown.
exactly.
Yep, exactly. I
Hey,
like how you said that.
Hey Todd, we have time for maybe one or two more questions, and then we'll get to the recap, to kind of uh, you know get things
Yeah.
going. But yeah, if you want to go with one more question.
Yep. So I would say let's go ahead and go. And if I mess up the name, it's Porfirio. Did I do that right? Porfirio Espada has pulmonary fibrosis. How can I apply for that under Agent Orange and Pit Burns?
So on that one, if you don't mind, Todd, I'll
Go
take
for it.
it. So again, depending on your service and place and time, according to the resources, and you may be able to, file something like this under presumptive or maybe secondary. So on the specifics, I don't know, but I definitely think if you have something like this, and you served in those areas during that time, get with the coach, get with the discovery call, sign up so that we can, start coaching you through the process to get the right information. Okay, Porfirio. Sorry about that. um,
Full name. I like it.
yeah, for sure. And then,
Um, Great question, though.
yeah, I'll get to one more question before we do the recap. And this one's from Robert Hughes. Served in Vietnam, two different tours. 65 and 66 was exposed to Agent Orange while serving on the USS Bennington CBS 20, and now have VA disability of 80. And I have high blood pressure and peripheral neuropathy. I'd like to receive 100 uh, for two disabilities from Agent Orange exposure. So, um, I don't know exactly what the specifics are on your case, but from what I see here, you do have a pathway to the 100%, depending on the evidence that you have, the diagnosis and the severity, right? But that will be something that definitely can be hashed out and, uh, you know, strategized with the coach if you call in and get one of those discovery calls or sign up. I really do think you have a success path though, for this. So,
Yeah, me too.
Robert, I recommend you get a hold of us for sure.
And
Okay.
I just want to say real quick to Kurt, do the same thing. It's one more question I saw. If you're having disability payment issues, again, get with your coach so we know what the specifics are. See if there's any strategy there for you or any guidance or resources we can help you out with. Okay, Kurt.
Yeah. Hey man, Todd, thanks for helping me out today. And
Yeah,
it was a great
my
session.
pleasure.
The time flew by.
It
But
did. Lots of
yeah,
great questions too.
it was.
We covered a
Um,
lot, so maybe we should just give them a recap about what we talked about.
mhm.
And again, we're looking forward to talking to a lot of you folks or one of our fellow coaches.
Yeah.
But like Eddie was saying, it comes to that SEAM, that SEME thing, right? Or some people call it SEM. That strategy, right? Getting on a call with us, seeing what's going on, just bouncing things off, making sure, because sometimes you might discover something in that call that you didn't realize, or
I
someone
see that a
outside
lot.
of your situation is looking in, seeing something that you don't see, right?
Yeah.
And then that education, what does education do? It empowers us, right? So the empowered knowledge that you get based on those resources is only going to make your case stronger to get the ratings you deserve. And then what have I been saying this whole time, Eddie?
get
Medical
your
evidence, right?
get your butt to the doctor, like Brian
Get
says.
your butt to the doctor. Yes.
Yeah.
So you got those one-on-one coaching, right? That strategy
Yeah.
session. What the claim submission looks like and coaching and resources there. Any type of compensation preparation that you need for your CMP exam. compensation pension exam. We want to prep you with that, make sure we're talking about symptoms and all the things, right? And then again, those classes, right, Eddie? And I think we
Yeah.
had one we didn't mention that we have just for women as well, right?
Yeah, correct. Yeah. I think it's bi-weekly. There's
It's
a
on
women,
Wednesdays.
yeah, Women's Wednesday. So run by our fellow female coaches, and very successful and good class for female vets for sure. And the way to get all this, it's all available to you as an elite member. So call, sign up, get signed up on the program, and then you'll be able to be a part of this and get some of that education and resources to move you forward to success. Um, and yeah, a couple other things to wrap up. Let's see here.
The book, Brian's new
Book,
book.
brand new
Yeah.
book. So if you guys have his old book, it's still good. But he's got a brand new book. You Deserve It, second edition is out now. You can get it on Amazon, and they put up the link right there. Um, I myself have the first, and I'm getting the second. Very awesome resource for very specific things, as far as like benefits that you can get, in your specific area, depending
Yeah,
on where
they
you're at
break it
in your.
down by state. Yeah, they break
Mhm.
it down by your state too, which is great. And Eddie, I've been reading it online because I downloaded it, but I just got
Mhm.
my hard copy in the mail 2 nights ago. So
Nice.
I'm just continuing on there, but it's pretty great book.
Yeah.
Awesome resources. First thing I did was I went to my state.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
wanted to see what benefits I had. So yeah, great book. It's a great resource. It really is.
Well,
Um,
and a part of it too is I wanted to mention is there's a second one because there's we're dynamic, right? We keep changing with the process. So if new information comes out, new benefits come out, we educate the veterans that we're serving. So that's one of the great things about this company is it's ever growing to make veterans successful in their claims process and beyond, right? Because there's other programs that are out there that we can assist with. So, in closing,
mhm.
thank you, Todd. Appreciate your
Thanks,
time
Eddie.
today.
Yeah, I had a great
Um,
time with you and everyone on here, honestly.
yeah, I'll do a class with you anytime if you need
Same.
me. And everybody, thank you for coming. Remember discovery call if you
Yep.
need to learn more about what we do. You can schedule a free discovery call. Talk to one of the team members here. If you need help, reach out vaclaimsinsider.com, and we'd love to partner with you in your claims process.
100%. And again, just get on the phone with us so we can see what you're doing. We do everything with integrity here. So we want to make
Yeah,
sure you're squared away and you're making good decisions on your claim and seeing what's going on there. So thanks again for your time, everybody. Eddie, right back at you, bro. Looking forward to our next class together. And everyone have a wonderful day. And we're looking forward to follow ups with you guys.
yeah. Thanks everybody. Have a great day, everyone.